Hello and welcome to another episode, or the first episode back in a very, very long time of the Fair One podcast. I'm going to be doing a live tomorrow for the UFC 291, but Wonderboy and Pereira aren't fighting tomorrow. And so I'm just curious as to what people think. Can you please write it down in your comments? Because I saw some feedback online. I usually don't get into this. I usually don't do posts like this, even when I was doing the podcast all the time. But I was just thinking about this, and I was thinking, like, if you go in a wrestling comp, any comp, right? You go to a local BJJ comp or anything like that, and the weight is whatever it is. Let's say it's 79 kilos, and this I'm talking about is at a local comp, and you come in at 80 kilos for a 79 kilogram BJJ comp. You don't even get to compete. You're done. That's it. It's finished. See you later. And so I found it real strange that anyone should even give any flack at all to Wonderboy Thompson. I feel that Thompson, just a second, it's very, very hot in here. I feel that it's kind of crazy that anyone would give any flack to Wonderboy Thompson. The other guy misses weight by something like 3 or 4 pounds. Which, this is what's crazy. The last time that Thompson took a fight like that was against Darren Till. Darren Till missed weight by 3 or 4 pounds as well, won the fight by a close decision, and then went on and got a title shot off the back of beating Wonderboy Thompson. And you've got to understand, beating Wonderboy Thompson is a big thing. He's taken many, many scalps in his time. So, and he's 40. He doesn't have heaps more fights like this. So I think you're lucky to even get to fight him. So, especially, no disrespect to Pereira, but he's not as big a name as Thompson. And why should Thompson take that fight? You know what I mean? That's not. I don't think that's fair. I don't even think that it's remotely close. And people talk about it being 3 or 4 pounds is not that big. It's not going to make that big of a difference. I think anyone that says that, you've never had to cut the weight, because ask Pereira if 3 or 4 pounds wasn't going to make a difference. Like, obviously he couldn't make that weight. So I just thought I'd share that. I think Thompson has earned his right, to take the fight or not take the fight. Definitely, I think if I was him, I wouldn't take the fight. I have a lot of people on the chat here. Thank you. This is very impromptu as well, so I really appreciate your support, guys, and thank you to Oliver Ekman, Mitch G, Thrillhouse, Randy, Rice Man, all you guys at Jay. Thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate it. No Go Mojo. If anyone has, Oliver Ekman says, I think Wonderboy made the right decision. I absolutely do think so. I think it's insane when people, if you've had to cut the weight ever, if you've had to cut weight for anything, you know what that's like. And yeah, I don't think that also the rehydration process is different as well. Because the other fellow didn't cut to 170 or 185 or 155, whatever the weight is. Yeah, it's not. He didn't cut. He didn't have to cut to that weight, so he's rehydrating to a higher weight as well. So no, I don't. I think it is a good idea that he didn't cut the weight. No Go Mojo says, I used to be a different name and worked nights. I think I remember because I remember the guy that used to work the nights. Rob McKenzie says, Fab, I read another book while you were away. Apparently Spot was the dog's name. Who knew? There you go. Chill says, love to have you back, mate. Jay says, wow. And he missed you, Fab. I actually very much missed doing the podcast. And obviously I'll talk about it more tomorrow. But just so many things that I'd had on the back burner, with COVID, it just got pushed behind and I couldn't do them. And then I also had 3 kids since that first kid you saw. I've had 2 more. And so I've got 3 kids under 3.5 and, a whole bunch of stuff. So it was the kids, had 3 kids in 3 years, had the stuff from COVID, so projects and work that I had lined up, I couldn't do it during COVID. and then they all happened at once, so it was impossible to be able to do the podcast and the projects and work. I opened up a little gym. I opened up a little gym in Thirroul, that's on the New South Wales South Coast in Australia, and I'm about to open up a second gym in Little Bay, which is close to the city of Sydney, and that will be open in October. That's pretty much ready to go. I'll put some photos on my Instagram and that for that. So I have two gyms, opened up two gyms, had 3 kids, and a whole bunch of other projects and that I'm doing in as far as creating like elite performance pathways with the Aboriginal Health and Medical Research Council for athletes, and setting up educational pathways for those athletes. So it's been big projects, that it just were on the back burner because of COVID. And so to the Rice Man, why did I have a big break? That is the reason. Survival Bay Area says, Fab bro, I missed you so much. Likewise, my friend. So now I absolutely did enjoy doing the podcast, and it was just full on, like too busy to be able to do any of that stuff. This is Fab the baby making machine. Well, I'm a bit older, man. I'm 43 years old. So I didn't want to have the kids too much later, like too much older, and it's already, they're already going to be a little bit, have an old dad. They already have an old dad. So that's how that happened. Yeah, no, it's just but when I saw the stuff with Wonderboy, I thought, nah, man, like that's pretty crazy. And then you think, man, like you're fighting another. Tiger Woods putt says, hey Fab. Shaka Garami says, great to see you back, Fab. Thank you. Davin Nonny says, have your kids as co-hosts. The eldest one used to be on the podcast sometimes. She used to sit on my lap and do it, but she's the only one that can, because the one straight after her, she's the devil, and she won't be able to sit here and watch the podcast and just listen to me or anything. She just straight out ignores me. She spat on me yesterday, like she was doing stuff she wasn't meant to do, which was brushing her teeth, and then she was brushing the wall with a toothbrush, and I said to her, don't do that, and she just looked up at me and spat on me. And she's 1.5 in fairness, but still. And then the boy's 6 months old, so they're too little to be co-hosts right now. Tony says, love having you back, Fab. Hope everything's well. Yeah, man. Yes, it is. And Davin says, I think the devil might have some great insight into these high-level MMA bouts. She may. I'm really interested in the card itself. The big thing that I see with this card tomorrow is the altitude. I really do think that the altitude is going to be a big X factor in all the fights. And No Go Mojo says, well, even Randy has returned. I'm surprised at how many people just got back on like that. Bang. So I really appreciate all you guys. Chill says, I thought Wonderboy's statement was so reasonable while staying respectful. Some dudes like to make a big show and give out personal attacks when this happened. He's a good role model. Yeah, I'm not really I don't really watch a lot of the I don't really watch a lot of like the comments or the stuff that happens in the background. Actually, because Wonderboy is a legend. He's 40 years old, dude. I thought, no, man, he's well within his rights to do so. I don't think that you could even question, why or not. Sufi Mir says, did you ever make the move to New Zealand, Fab? No. I would have liked to have made the move to New Zealand. We thought about it. My wife and I actually considered New Zealand quite seriously at one stage. Now, the altitude, I think, is going to make a big X factor in tomorrow's fights for sure. I don't think that people realize how difficult altitude is, how high Salt Lake City is. I don't like the 2 weeks thing. Oh, the thing I was going to say before I go on this, the thing I was going to say before is like, this is the first time I've posted ever about like comments that people have made, and it's just a bit of the drama stuff. That's because of Wonderboy. But the other day I found this. I never listened to any of it. I never listened to any of the gossip and that. But the other day I found the MMA Guru online. And shout out to the MMA Guru. And he's a funny guy, man. And he makes this is the only time I've listened to it, and he makes like important points. They're funny and important points. And today I went on his I've never done this before either, on the chat. Like, he had a chat like this one, and I donated money to it. So not a lot, but because I don't have a lot of money. But yeah, shout out to him, because I think if you want, the kind of like the gossip and the stuff that's happening, and he's pretty good with how he says some things and the stuff that he says, I think it's cool. So I put that on there. So somebody asks here, Randy asks, I'm really interested in the Blachowicz and Pereira fight. What do you think about that one? I think Pereira's going to get it done. I think that Blachowicz is no joke. I think that the Blachowicz can do it. Like I said, the altitude, I think, is a big one. What a lot of people don't realize, and this is not taking anything away from Izzy's performance or who Izzy is, and he's a fantastic, phenomenal fighter. But Pereira's last fight, he's not a middleweight anymore. He was a light heavyweight coming back down to middleweight at 35, 36 years of age, So I think that would have really taken its toll on him. That would have made it really hard for him to take some of the shots that he did, And it's not like these guys at middleweight don't hit hard, they hit hard, and they're big guys. And that weight cut for him later in life would have been really hard. They talk about it like, oh, what an advantage that he had, but no, man, cutting that much weight is a disadvantage, and especially later in life, especially in a style that's going to require you to get hit. So I think that him at light heavyweight's a better match. I am a little bit concerned of the fact that he did get knocked out not that long ago, and he got knocked out bad. Like, that knockout from Israel was bad. He wasn't. I've seen footage of that. Like, the UFC doesn't show how long he was out for. He was out for a while. And like, Israel was done celebrating, and he was still out. So I think that might be a problem. Could be a problem. But he's been knocked out and come back before. He's done this. The only thing that I do, his style is going to be, it requires less effort, right, for him to implement what he will do. He can front kick and knee the body and work the body of Blachowicz with less effort than it's going to take for, if things go south striking wise for Blachowicz, and there's a good chance that it will, it's going to require a lot more effort for Blachowicz to take him down and hold him down for 3 rounds than it's going to take for Pereira to hit him and move, and at altitude, that's a big thing, man. Blachowicz has only been there, I think, 2 weeks before the fight, from my understanding, and it's not enough time, man. It's not enough time. At 2 weeks, you'll adapt, but you'll adapt for like a normal person, like if you're going to do your shopping and living and whatnot. But to really compete at a high level like that, at a one-on-one, mano-a-mano sport, you're going to need more than that. I would, if it was me, I would be suggesting minimum 4 to 6 weeks before the fight to really acclimate to it and be able to train and be able to kind of redline your body at that level. 2 weeks is not really enough, especially in a situation where you're going to have to really push. You're going to have to really, really push to be able to exert your style. That's what I think. So I think that Pereira is going to get it done, in short. I think that he's going to land body shots to Blachowicz. I think he's going to be able to tape him to the body. I think he's going to be able to knee the body, and either it's going to bring his hands down and allow Pereira to land, big shots like his left hook, etc., or he's going to just wear Blachowicz down. Either or. That's my take on that fight. So in answer to Chill's question, where it says, how long does it take to acclimate? Does the 2 weeks not make much of a difference? It really depends on the person, but I wouldn't say 2 weeks is what I would suggest for a normal athlete, normal thing. Like going from Sydney. So say if when I was looking after fighters, if I was going to go from Sydney to or even when I was coaching wrestling or anything like that. So if I was going to go from Sydney to Kansas City, for example, this is going to require 2 weeks, just to get right, to be okay, that's just with jet lag and your sleep and you're just working stuff out. That the 2 weeks will be just that. I would suggest 4 to 6 weeks if you want to acclimate to altitude like Salt Lake City. And for anyone that thinks that I'm being excessive, have a look at the fighters when they fight in altitude, and most of them look like shit. Not as fighters, but as athletes that are fighting at altitude, they don't look the best, and it definitely affects them. And it affected Leon Edwards, it affected Costa, it affected Rockhold, it affects people. This is real. And so I would definitely suggest 4 to 6 weeks. Tiger Woods says, Fab, just wondering what you thought about Rob's last fight and how you think DDP does about with Izzy. I'm never going to talk too much about Rob's performance or anybody else that I've worked with or I've coached. I can't really talk about it too much without it being almost a conflict of interest, almost like yeah. And anything that I say sounds like I'm favoring Rob or have sour grape. It's always going to look bad, And plus, I don't. That's not my style. But one thing I will say is this: if DDP is that good, if he's that good, if he not that I haven't heard Rob say anything. I don't really think, and I haven't heard anything from anyone or whatever. So this is just me saying this. If Rob was not injured, and that we don't know about, that he kept to himself, and he's that kind of guy. He's not going to come out and make excuses. So I'm not making an excuse for him. I'm just saying, if he wasn't injured, if he wasn't sick, I'm absolutely aware of what a phenomenal fighter Rob is. And if he wasn't sick and he wasn't hurt, and there was no other something outside that I don't know about or that we don't know about, and DDP could beat Rob like that, then I give him a chance for sure against anyone. That's like, if he's that good, man, like there's man, who no one can beat him. Just give me 1 sec. Yeah, so if he's that good, I definitely think he can beat anyone. Like you don't beat Robert Whittaker like that by accident. Like you're talking about one of the very, very best guys to ever do it. So yeah, man, I definitely think if he's that good, I picked against him. I like him. I think I like his character. I like his self-belief. But I'm not going to lie, I did not think he had much of a chance against Rob. I didn't think that. But man, like he what are you going to say? Like, you know what I mean? He definitely came out. He did his work. Randy says, "Oh, okay." Through her says, "I've been a day one, Fab. Thank you, sir. Click the notification right away. How impressed or excited are you for Alex Pereira tomorrow? He's the first fighter in so long I've been legitimately anxious and keen for. Man, Alex Pereira to me is one of the. Look, there's two guys like this. I think, like off the top of my head, Henry Cejudo and Pereira. They're like arguably the two of the best combat athletes to ever do it, because to win, and I'd edge Cejudo for this, to win a gold medal, right, at the Olympics, people have no idea what that takes. And then to win 2 UFC titles in different weight divisions, or even one, to win a gold medal and then win that, it's ridiculously difficult. Like, it's not even, there's there's not many people that could do that. Like, this is incredible. And for Pereira to win 2 weight divisions in K1, right? K1, Glory, whatever, but the premier kickboxing division in the world, and he won a middleweight and light heavyweight, and then he won the UFC belt, right? Um, and people can tell, oh, but he didn't fight this guy. It doesn't matter, man. You think you beat Israel Adesanya by accident? You think you beat Strickland by accident? You don't beat these guys by accident. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is not easy fights. This guy went out and he did that, and even in his second fight against Adesanya, he proved the first one wasn't a fluke. Like, he was in there until he wasn't. So I'm super pumped for it, man. I really am. I love watching him. I love watching him fight. I love watching what he's accomplished. I like his backstory. I'm very excited to see him fight at light heavyweight, though. I really am, because I do think he was a light heavyweight fighting at middleweight, not a middleweight that's gone up to light heavyweight. Rice says, will you be making a triumphant comeback? Yes, I will, sir. Yes, I will. Now, I will. I've been able to kind of, shift things around and be able to do it. Jay says, do you reckon Pereira will become champ? Well, he's been champ at middleweight, and I think not because of the fighters, right? Not because of the fighter, right? I think that was harder for him to do. One, yeah, Israel is phenomenal. So yes, that is a very difficult puzzle to solve. So one is that, yeah, he's already done it. But I do believe it was harder for him to fight at middleweight than it was for him to fight at light heavyweight, than it is for him to fight at light heavyweight. That isn't to say that if Israel goes up to light heavyweight, that Israel can't beat Pereira, because these two guys, there's not much in their fights, and they both know it. It's very, very close. The margin of error is very, very small. But like I said, I do think he can become champ at light heavyweight, because I think that's his actual division. Nogo says, who was a person? Oh, I don't know, man. I don't know who that was. Somebody asked before about the Ballina Bomber. The Ballina Bomber will make his triumphant return as well. Chill says, what does Jan's defense against Izzy tell us about this matchup? I think they're very different, man. I think they're very, very different in their approaches. Like, both Israel and Alex are very, very different. Israel's like a counter striker sniper, and Alex Pereira is like more of a pressing, come forward, less defense, more attack kind of fighter. He's got very little tell, man, in his kicks. They both have very little tell in their kicks, but it's different with how they use them. Whereas Pereira's kicks, his leg kicks, you do not see him coming, and he places them really well and just snaps them out there. Same as with his body kicks. He's got his left knee that he throws, like that switch knee that he throws. He throws it with his right as well, but the way that he does these things, and he does them coming forward, he stays in your face, he pressures you. The what am I trying to say here? The presence that he has in the ring is an intimidating one. He looks huge. He is huge, but he looks huge. And Israel has that too, but in a different way. Israel's much more of a showman is what I'm looking for. But he's not a show pony. Not like he doesn't. He's got there's bite to his bark. He's very, very good. He's very good at bluffing you out, drawing your attacks out, and then countering and snipering you on that. The other thing that both these guys do well, and that people don't understand, is when they talk about their takedown defense and they say to take these guys down, you don't understand that these guys are framing, right? Because they're so tall, they're already framing you. So you're shooting from even further back, and their ability to clinch and move and then strike and make you pay is very, very big. Israel's durability is something that's overlooked as well. Like, Israel took some body shots off Pereira in that fight. Like, I was watching that in their first fight. I was watching the body shots that he was taking. Or if you go back and watch that fight, like, I know that the consensus is Israel was winning. No, look, watch the fight. Israel was winning the fight, but watch the fight properly and watch and understand. And give Alex his credit for landing the body shots that he was landing on Israel, and give Israel the credit for being tough as fuck to take him. And having that durability to be able to roll with some of the shots that he did. I don't think that Jan can impose the same game plan. I think that because Israel and Alex are very different, man. I don't think you can kind of trade with Alex in the same way he did with Israel. I don't think so. I think that's going to be either Jan catches Alex and knocks him out. This can happen for sure. Jan hits like a fucking truck. It's a dangerous game to play. It's not. I think it's a different game. I don't think that. Yeah, that's my take. Let me see. Somebody says Guambina says it has its advantages and disadvantages, so don't discount the fact that he was being a weight bully. I don't understand, Guambino. If you want to tell us, the thing. There's no such thing as a weight bully. If you make the weight, you make the weight. As you just saw today, somebody didn't make the weight. So if you can't make the weight, you can't make the weight. His last fights were light heavyweight. I would imagine that massive part of the incentive for him to sign over to the UFC would have been to fight Israel, and for the UFC to make UFC to make the matchup for him. I don't believe in that, in the weight bully thing. If you make the weight, that's your weight, man. You're good to go. It's very hard to make weight. It's very, very hard to make weight, and then to rehydrate and be able to go and fight. It's fucking hard, man. Of course, the weight cut, if you can rehydrate and get back, it's going to be a big advantage. There's a lot of fighters that probably wouldn't do as well if they went up to the next weight division. That's why there's weight divisions. So Beetlejuice says, "I'm good to see you back. I'm sorry I missed the start. Are you able to summarize a recap? Where have you been?" Oh man, I just been busy. Kids. We had 3 kids in 3.5 years. Started 2 gyms. Yeah, a whole bunch of stuff. No Go Mojo says Randy and Beetlejuice returning. The earth is healing. It is indeed. Julian Obaya says, Coach, you are back. Thank you for coming back. No, thank you guys for having me back. Let me see. I'm just skipping a few. Okay. Sufi Mir says, Mr. Pib Extra says, would you collab with James Lynch? I honestly, I don't know who James Lynch is, like if that's a pseudonym for somebody else. Sufi Mir says, how could you see a Prime Lawler versus Colby going, the one who fought Johnny Hendricks? I'm a Robbie Lawler fan, right? I'm a Robbie Lawler fan. I really am. And I think he's a monster. But I think Colby Covington would beat him. I think Colby Covington would like, and I wouldn't be cheering for him. I'd be cheering for Robbie Lawler, but I think that he would get him. It'd be hard to keep a Colby Covington off you like that. Not that Robbie Lawler can't catch him and knock him out, but it's hard, man. It'd be hard to keep someone that good at wrestling and grappling off you. Cinder Artist says, cheers, Fab. Glad to see you back. Hope you're doing well. Thank you, sir. Johnny says, thoughts on Ferguson versus Bobby Green? Want Tony to win, but the past 5 fights are hard to swallow. Can Tony make a decent run, or is his time past? Man, he's almost 40. He has to cut weight. This is hard. He's not fighting a weight division up. He's fighting at lightweight. And as you get older, man, it's hard on you. I don't know where he's at mentally after 5 losses in a row. He's a pressure fighter. Come forward. He wants to come forward. He wants to go first. And he's fighting a guy like Bobby Green, who's the opposite of that. He's a little bit younger, and he wants you to come forward so he can counter, so he can do his Philly shell and hit on the bluff and hit you from different angles. And so I think that that's going to be hard for Ferguson, Like, I honestly, I don't like seeing him fight like that anymore, because I think he was a fantastic fighter in his day. and that's definitely, he was in his day. I don't think he's I think he's well past his prime, and he's fighting a guy that is difficult for him to fight. He's gonna it goes against what Ferguson wants to win. He's fighting a guy that wants someone to come forward on him. The Seshman says the Coach Fab site isn't up anymore. No, it is. It is up. It is. Michael Page says, what were your thoughts on Volk versus Islam's previous fight, on their only fight? Man, I was watching that fight. I was watching that fight on my phone, yelling at the phone. I thought it was a close fight. I think people don't understand the difference between like a close fight, right, and like an unfair decision or a robbery or whatever. Like it was close, but I couldn't have given Alex more than a draw. Like that's me, based on the criteria, how I understand it. This is how, and then even with criteria, there's levels of subjectivity to it. I think that myself included, you get lost in how well Alex did, and how me personally, like I know Alex, you know what I mean? I've had him at my house. He's been on the podcast. I've known him since he was a little kid. If there's someone that's not in his circle, that's not family, there's nothing that wants him to win, it's me. But I didn't think that it was anything, could be anything other than a draw. Like my opinion, that was me. I was hoping that it would be a draw. I was hoping that maybe they'd give it to him, but I didn't think so. I thought that Islam won the fight. And I thought that the thing that catches a lot of people out is how well Alex did and how well he did in certain aspects of the fight, primarily his ability to stop some of the takedowns, because Islam still got him down, like, and I'm saying this, you got to give the devil his due. Islam still got him down. Islam still hit Alex with some big shots, and I'm saying this because I'm watching the fight. And so when I'm watching it like this, and and I could see that Islam had some heavy hands as well, and he's landing the shots as well. Alex, man, did so well. Alex landed big shots of his own, imposed his physicality, and Islam stopped a lot of the takedowns. And in that last round, like, looked like he could have stopped him. You know what I mean? And he was definitely the fresher guy coming forward, and then we can do all the hyperbole we like. Like we could say, oh, if there was a sixth round, Alex would have won. Yeah, probably, you know what I mean? If, this round, the fifth round should have counted for more, maybe, but it doesn't. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can't say that. You have to just look at what it is. And also, if there were no rounds, it might have been different, because maybe Islam would still be on his back now. Do you know what I mean? Like, maybe he would have just put the triangle on and stayed there for 25 minutes. I don't know, You can't really say that. He's Volkanovski is a monster at featherweight. He's a fucking monster, At lightweight, I think he's gonna lose some of the mechanical advantages against some of the bigger guys that he would have at featherweight, but he's definitely a monster at featherweight. And at lightweight, he's right up there with anyone on any given day. But I don't, like, to me, it's almost a foregone conclusion for him fighting at featherweight. If him fighting at lightweight, there are some guys that I know would give him some trouble, for different reasons. But that's how I saw that fight. Vabu made it, says, good morning from Finland. Fab, good morning, sir. Tone Balloon says, great to see you. I hope you're well. Yeah, man, I'm good. Rob McKenzie says, any in-studio guests coming up, Fab? Man, to be honest with you, I'm just trying to get back into the swing of it and just get used to doing this, again, because it's been a little bit since I've done it. And I will have some guests coming up, but probably not in the MMA space. I'm kind of want to do some different people and some different points of view in life, in general. Like, but I'm definitely going to have some people on here for sure. Yes. Chill says some people like to call Holloway a weight bully as well, which I don't get at all. Laugh out loud. Nah, man. Like if you make the weight, you make the weight. It's fucking hard to make the weight. You know what I mean? So if you make the weight, it's on you to rehydrate though. It's on you to rehydrate and do well. And like I said to you, there's things that people don't understand. Like I you lose certain mechanical advantages going up into the next weight division, you know. So if you can make that weight and you can rehydrate correctly, then good for you. The Seshman says, "Where's the new gyms at?" The new gyms. So one's at Little Bay. It'll open in October, and the other one's like it's a little fitness studio out in here at Thirroul on the New South Wales South Coast. No Go Mojo says, "Has Tony won a fight since Fab left?" Nah, Tony has not won a fight for a long time. A long time because he's lost 5 in a row, I'm pretty sure. And I used to do every single card during COVID, and I don't think he won one during that particular time. Darío Pedraza says, "Hola, los saludo desde Córdoba, Argentina." Desde Córdoba, Argentina. Sorry. He's just saying hello from Argentina. Thrill House says, "Do you think Jan is a harder matchup for Alex than Jiri is? Jiri is a super athletic but has far less defense." Man, I don't know, Thrill House. I don't know because I feel that Jiri is more dangerous as a kickboxer and as a striker. I'm not saying he's better than Jan. I'm just saying he's more dangerous. He's more dangerous in that his strikes come from different angles. And he hits hard and he can take a shot as well, you know. So I do think that's what makes him a little bit like Jan is more meat potatoes kind of guy. Jan is more like he's a good striker. He's hard as nails and a good grappler. He's got a good double leg. He's going to get into your half guard, look for mount if he can, and that's how he's going to fight. Whereas Jiri does all like hits hard and all of that, but he's kind of X factor. You don't know what he's going to do. Kind of not as maybe not different, but like a Yair kind of guy, Yair Rodriguez kind of guy, in that there's an X factor to what he does. You can't just pick someone out of the gym and say be Yair or be Jiri. It's very, very difficult to find people that move like that and that would feel like that. Jay says, "Does your wife know you're an idol?" I thought it said, "Does your wife know you're an idiot?" And I was going to say, "Yo, she calls me that all the time," but no. Sorry, my kids gave me a chest infection. Ryan says, "Fab, you're alive." I am, sir. Al says, "Speaking Spanish." Yeah, I speak Spanish. Belfort says, "Good to see you again, Fab." And Randy says, "Thank you." Yeah, so that's my take on those particular fights for tomorrow. And I think, and since we're here and we're talking about the fights, I think the main event when we're talking about altitude, I think that if it was head to head normal altitude and whatnot, altitude not a thing, I would probably say I think that Poirier edges out Gaethje. I think that he does. Although Gaethje has shown a lot of improvement since their first fight, which was like 4 or 5 years ago. But I think Poirier has the tidier offense, better footwork, and his better combinations to the body. I'd like to see front kicks from both of them. But the big thing here, to me, the biggest X factor out of all of it is that it's at altitude, and Gaethje trains and lives at altitude. And I don't think that Poirier will make that adjustment enough, you know, and to keep someone like Gaethje off you for that amount of time at altitude where you're not used to it, even no matter how much you acclimate to it, just the force of nature that Gaethje is. He had, I feel that Poirier was winning the fight, but I feel that Gaethje was always pouring it on, and I don't think that he's going to be able to keep Gaethje off him. One, because Gaethje has improved. Two, because of the altitude factor, I think that Gaethje is going to chew him up. I do think he's going to beat him. Oliver Ekman. Thank you, Oliver Ekman says, Fab can speak 8 different languages, submit any black belt in the world, and can beat any man or woman on this planet in VR boxing. Yes, sir. Johnny says, how do you think Ilya versus Volk goes if it happens? It's hard to bet against Volk. Yeah, I can't bet against Volkanovski. One, because I know him. I want him to win anyways. I think, look, man, he just fought, what's that guy's name? Is it Bryce Mitchell? The guy that he just fought who's fucking good. And he pumped him, man. Ilya Topuria, he pumped him. So his jiu-jitsu's good, man. His wrestling's good. His boxing's tidy. But Alex a different level, dude. Different animal. Different, like his physicality. I cannot describe that physicality unless you've dealt with people like that. His physicality is extra. Do you know what I mean? Like his physicality is again like kind of like a Gaethje in that, but very technical. You can't keep Volkanovski off you at featherweight. He's too big, too strong, and he's technically good, technically sound everywhere. So it's going to be very hard for Ilya to come in with something that Volkanovski hasn't seen. Having said that, though, I think people sleep on Ilya a little bit because he's very, very, very good. He's very good. Like he's how he beat that Bryce Mitchell was very impressive. Dario says, "Hola, hola, Dario." Chill says, this fight would have been great for Miami or something. Almost feels like a waste having the epic battle of altitude, but maybe that's the wrong way to look at it. You know what, Chill? I do think, though, it's if you watch, something to think about with altitude. If anyone that's South American, Dario, he would know this. You watch the South American qualifiers for the World Cup, right? In soccer, football, whatever you want to call it. And there's teams, man, like Brazil, Argentina, like powerhouse teams, powerhouse teams. And they'll pump Bolivia. Like they'll come to Buenos Aires, they'll go to Buenos Aires, Bolivia, and Argentina will absolutely fucking decimate them, make a mockery of them. And then they'll fly to Bolivia, which is, if I'm not mistaken, it is the highest soccer stadium in the world. And the Bolivians will win. They'll beat them, and there'll be like they might beat them 1 or 2-0, or sometimes more. But Argentina might beat them 6-0 at home, or Brazil, or whatever, And there's this massive margin of goals, or Uruguay, or any of these teams, they lose to the Bolivians, man, at altitude. So the altitude thing's real. Like it's real. Should they not fight, or should the fighters just understand that they probably need to be there 4 to 6 weeks earlier? I'm not sure, If I was fighting someone like Gaethje that I know lives there, I'd need to be there the moment the fight was announced, because you're not going to acclimate in time to how well he's acclimated. That's for sure. Thank you, man. Thrillhouse says, encouragement to never leave us again, I imagine. Man, I didn't want to leave. But it was, I had to, unfortunately. Give me 1 second just so I can fix this. Randy says, I'm also looking forward to Poirier and Gaethje. Yeah, man, like I said, I think that the altitude will play a major factor in that particular fight in the main event, and I think that Gaethje will get it done. I'd like to see more front kicks from them too. Johnny says, good to see a sexy head of yours again. It's like seeing a double rainbow. Thank you, sir. Nogo Mojo says, I'd love to see Poirier versus Volk just as a fan. You see, that's what I mean when I say to you, like, I don't see, with all due respect to anyone at featherweight, I just think that Volk is just he's at his prime, he's at his peak technically, and physically he's a fucking monster, and he's at his physical prime. So I don't see like, oh shit, can this guy run? Nah. But I'm not saying no one can beat him. But at lightweight, I'd like to see him fight Sarukian. That would be a tough fight. Gamrot would be a tough fight. Poirier, Oliveira, like these are like tough fights, Islam, these are not easy fights, like I wouldn't be able, I'd want him to Gaethje, Gaethje and Volkanovski would be fucking madness. That would be a fight to make. Gaethje and Volkanovski, that would be like, to me, that's a fight that I want to see as a fan. Me personally, that's what it is. That's a fight I'd love to see. Nogo Mojo says, how much do you think Craig has been able to help Alex with the technical side of jiu-jitsu? Obviously a physical beast that would have been amazing under anyone, but Craig's recent innovations are ingenious. I'm just careful how I word this, because I don't want to discredit. Fuck, Craig Jones is Craig Jones, dude. What do you like? You know what I mean? But also, I don't want to discredit. He's had coaches up until this point, and he's been phenomenal. You know what I mean? He's been absolutely phenomenal, and he's always been dominant on the ground. I think having someone like Craig that can technically help you with a lot of things helps you learn new things as you're getting older in your career. So it's a whole new world. Like Craig's level is not like, oh, you're a good black belt. Hold on a sec. Craig's level is not like, oh, you're a good black belt. Like Craig's level is right up there, Gordon Ryan, that kind of cat. So it's not even fucking close. So going with someone like Craig opens up a whole new door, a whole new bunch of stuff. So I don't know how much it makes Alex a better fighter per se versus how much it now creates a new learning angle for him and a new a renaissance of his training and of his training methodologies. I think that is where Craig really comes in. That's me saying this as well, to not discredit the coaches that he's had leading up to this, because he was dominant before that. Vabu made it says, do you think Israel can handle Hamzat's wrestling if they fight? Can he handle his wrestling if they fight? No, I don't think so. No, I don't think he can handle Hamzat's wrestling or Bo Nickal's wrestling if they fight. But this is not the question. Like, it's can they apply their wrestling against Israel? And this is what's going to be difficult. If it was just like his wrestling, no, he can't. I don't think he can. I think that level's higher. Like, from my understanding, he was a podium finisher at Russian Nationals and juniors, which is so ridiculously high. Like, it's much higher. Like guys like Bo Nickal, which I'm actually going to do a breakdown on. Like, people do not understand this level. This guy would like. This guy's levels, their levels are so high. So their wrestling is, and Bo Nickal's wrestling levels are much higher than Hamzat's. And so, no, I don't think Israel can handle the wrestling, but it's can you get into Israel's space when you could run into a knee and whatnot and punches, kicks, whatever, and he's already framing you. And then by the time you take him down, you only have X amount of time to work on. And also, that really with Israel, you need to keep him down, because if you go for something and he gets back up, you're fucking back in the same problem that you had at the start, which is Israel standing, and you're more tired now, So this is the part that is a problem. But as in, like, can Israel handle the wrestling per se? No, I don't think he can. It's can you apply the wrestling to Israel? This is the big question, which everyone says just take him down, but no one's been able to do that. I mean, people have taken him down, but no one's been able to really implement wrestling on Israel. So until I see it, I can't say Yeah, you can. I don't think people understand how hard it is to shoot and get him down, and then do something meaningful on the ground without without him getting back up. Because when you make space to strike, he's going to make space and get up. So you see people maybe hold him down and take him down and hold him down a little bit, but they're not hurting him. They're not really implementing that wrestle game as it is for MMA. So it's going to be interesting. That kind of fight, man, the Hamzat fight's going to be very, very interesting. Michael Page says, looking forward to your future calls. Thank you, sir. No, there'll be no He-Man. Oliver says that my auntie just walked in. That's my dog, you monster. Johnny says, thoughts on Costa versus Hamzat. See, that's a different fight again. I don't know, because I haven't seen Hamzat at middleweight properly. You know what I mean? Like, I haven't seen him. I'd imagine that he'd be bigger now. Like, he hasn't fought for a year. So I think that he's going to be different at middleweight. You know what I mean? I don't know. I have no gauge as to say how he's going to even move at middleweight, how big he's going to look at middleweight compared to Costa. I definitely think he's going to be the better wrestler, but again, is he going to be able to implement that style against these guys at middleweight that can get up quicker? They have more strength to get up. That isn't to say that he can't. I don't know. I do think that if it's early, right, I just think it might be Costa. But again, I haven't seen Costa a lot recently either, because Costa's looked hot and cold. Like, if the Costa that fought Marvin Vettori fights Hamzat's going to win that by a long shot. If the Costa that fought Luke Rockhold, but see, that was at altitude. And that's a big X factor. I can't tell what that looks like. Costa in those first 4 or 5 minutes is fucking scary, dude. Like, he's a very, very scary guy. You do not want to run into an uppercut or anything like that. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a very hard fight to gauge, because I don't have enough right now. I've never seen Hamzat at middleweight. I've seen him pushed against Gilbert Burns. One of the things I will say, though, is with that Gilbert Burns fight, Gilbert Burns is a world champion in jiu-jitsu, and Hamzat, he still did well on the ground with Gilbert Burns, but it wasn't a situation where he pushed the ground as much as he could have, and Gilbert is very good at defending himself on the ground. So I don't know that you're going to have that level of resistance from anyone that I can think of in that middleweight division as far as being on their back if Hamzat puts them on their back. If Hamzat puts Costa on his back and can stop Costa from getting up, there's not many guys like Gilbert Burns around. So that's something that I find interesting. Mitch G says, you still doing any MMA coaching, Fab? Not really, but there are a couple of young guys that I'm kind of helping out now, and it's just the start of their careers, so I'm actually pretty excited about that. Rob McKenzie says, at work now, Fab, if you could just go for another 8 hours, that would be great. Yeah, I'll do that if I can. No Go Mojo says, I just want Johnny Hendricks Costa back. The thing is, again, it's your matchups too, because by the time, like, Hendricks and Costa, they weren't at the same point in their careers when they fought. Chill says, sorry if it's too off topic, Fab, but do you have any thoughts about Ngannou going to PFL? Look, he's obviously going to do what's best for him. I think he's going to get paid more fighting Tyson Fury, being the PFL, etc. And if that's what he feels is right for him, that's cool. I don't know. Like, let's say he fought John Jones. I'm not bagging him for his decision. Good for him, But if he had fought John Jones and won, which he could have, you don't know, if he had fought John Jones and won, like, fuck, man, he could just walk around with a blank check and do whatever he wants, So who knows if it, like, it's not the wrong decision either way. I think he would have got paid a shit ton anyways at the UFC, and he's probably getting paid more now. But I don't think he beats Fury at all. I think he had much more of a chance to beat John Jones than he does to beat Tyson Fury. But yeah, I think he's made a lot of money anyways based on what he's done. Nogo says, very happy that Ngannou got the bag, but sad we won't see him fight the best, even though the heavyweight division is a little bit sparse at the moment. Yeah, but I still think he would have made a shit ton of money anyways. You know what I mean? Like that fight with him and Jones would have been fucking huge. You know, so good for him. Regardless, I don't see him beating Fury in boxing though at all. Like I don't see that being even close. And I don't know how much. Let's say he takes a bad beating. I don't know if that would have made sense. Oliver Ekman says, is this a new officer? Yeah, well, that's funny as well. One of the other things that I did why I haven't been back is we built a new house and I'm living in the new house. So this is a new house that I have. So that's another thing that we did during that time. So it was pretty crazy, man. It was pretty crazy that time. With that being said, guys, please join me tomorrow for the main event. It'll be midday Australia time. So I'd really love for you guys to join me. Thank you so much for being on here. It was so cool to have everyone back on and to have everyone back on so quick. So thank you very much, guys. And I will see you guys very, very soon. Mitch G says, am I still surfing? Oh, man. No, no, I don't even have any time for that at all. No. Rio already answered the Gaethje Poirier fight. But like I said, I think Gaethje, just because of the altitude as well. I think the altitude will matter a lot in this fight. Gaethje lives and trains at altitude at Team Elevate. So yeah, that's my pick for that fight. I spoke about it a bit earlier. All right, guys, take care. Thank you very much. And I'll see you in about 18 hours. Take care, guys. Thank you very much.